Who's there?
Nay, answer me. Stand and unfold yourself.
Long live in the hot tub with Hamlet. Sean?
He.
Rhett?
He.
Mallory?
She. Welcome to
In the Hot Tub with Hamlet.
Your one-stop shop for all things Shakespeare. We are so happy to be here with you today to talk about Shakespeare's bestseller, maybe his masterpiece, Hamlet. So, guys, I don't know about you, but I read Hamlet recently, and it was pretty radical.
I know, it's amazing.
Outstanding.
So, one thing that really stood out to me was all of the allusions to the best-selling book in the world.
Harry Potter?
No.
No?
The Bible.
The Bible?
The Bible,
The Bible?
yes. So if
What?
you guys
What?
didn't know, in Genesis, there's a story of Cain and Abel. They were sons of Adam and Eve, and they were brothers.
Ooh.
Now, one day, Cain and Abel both gave an offering to God, and God acknowledged Abel, but didn't acknowledge Cain.
Aww.
And Cain was a little jelly.
That's sad.
He was quite jealous.
Yeah.
I
And
would
so,
be too.
because Cain was jealous, here, I actually have an exact verbatim quote here. Cain said, this is Genesis 4:8, and Cain said to Abel his brother, "Let us go out to the field." And when they were in the field, Cain rose against Abel his brother and killed him.
He killed his brother?
Killed his brother. Who does that remind you of?
It reminds me of
Claudius.
Claudius.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Claudius and Old Hamlet are parallels to Cain and Abel.
That's Shakespeare is taking inspiration.
Yes. You know, great artists steal. Just
Yep.
saying. Especially if you look in Act 3, Scene 3, when Claudius is in the confession booth talking about how he murdered his brother, he says, "It hath the primal eldest curse upon't, a brother's murder," referencing how Cain's murder of Abel was the first murder, the primal eldest murder in the Bible. Isn't that
wow.
quite peculiar?
We don't know, but this could have been the first major, hiccup. Hamlet doesn't reference any, previous... He says that, life has been good.
But there's one thing, though.
There hasn't been any previous, family drama.
This murder led to,
we
Norway
know of.
taking over them. Because, Claudius, when he took over, was so busy with how Hamlet was that he forgot to consider that there's other people that want power, too.
That actually reminds me, why did Claudius care so much about Hamlet's affairs when Fortinbras was a much larger threat to his power?
I know. His nerdy little prince, why did he care so much about him when there was this guy trying to come in and take everything?
I'm trying to think of this quote right here from Act 2, Scene 2, when Rosencrantz and Guildenstern came back to Claudius and brought back the letter from old Fortinbras, and Claudius just said, "At our more considered time we'll read. Answer and think upon this business. Meantime we thank you for your well-took labor. Go to your rest. At night we'll feast together." He just nah, let's eat. And didn't really think any further about the letter, which led to Norway eventually coming in and wreaking havoc upon the palace, but havoc was already wreaked, so... what was left to do?
Yeah.
Another thing about Claudius being kind of hunky-dory, tomfooler, a little mischievous and cheeky was how much he drinks alcohol. Can you guys relate?
I know, I
know
drink
I can.
I
Claudius drinks so much alcohol, right?
Yeah. But the alcohol thing, Hamlet was kind of angry at his own uncle, who had become kind of his dad, right? And part of it probably came from how much he drank, right? You know who else was angry at drinking? Women in the 1920s in America, alright? They helped lobby Congress to amend the Constitution to prohibit drinking.
The woman, that makes me think of the Women's Crusade when tons of women banded together in front of saloons and sang and read the Bible and just protested to get these saloons closed.
That sounds like what Hamlet wanted, because Hamlet was always talking about how he didn't how everyone was always drunk essentially and not thinking straight. He thought of alcohol as a
A drug.
a drug and like a sickness.
I mean, let's take a look back at what Hamlet said. Here we are at Act 1, Scene 4, where he's talking to Horatio as Claudius is getting lit in the background, partying over there.
Celebrating his new marriage.
With no one more dear to him than his brother's widow.
Well, Hamlet was talking about how he hated that heavy drinking was a custom in Denmark because all these other countries saw how much they were drinking would be like, oh, you guys are drunks. You guys can't be trusted. You guys are losers. How he says, Act 1, Scene 4, they clep us drunkards, and with swinish phrase soil our addition, and indeed it takes from our achievements. Hamlet is particularly poetic when later he says, these men, carrying, I say, the stamp of one defect, be nature's livery or fortune's star, their virtues else be they as pure as grace, as infinite as men may undergo, shall in the general censure take corruption from that particular fault. Saying like, even an angel could have just one fault and their whole thing would be corrupted from it. And that's also particularly interesting because that brings us back to the Bible, where in the line just before that, he says that too much or leavens, bringing us back to the Bible in 1 Corinthians 5, 6 through 8, where he says, do you not know that a little leaven leavens the whole lump? Therefore, purge out the old leaven, that you may be a new lump, since you truly are unleavened.
So, in the Bible, Paul has similar
views
as Hamlet. So the way in Corinthians, this take is similar to how Hamlet thinks about
drinking. You know, this is pretty bad. Being spied on. All right.
Oh, really? Do you?
And I know how you can fix that. All right. Yeah. Hamlet was always so obsessed about his uncle's drinking and his uncle, being with his mom, what?
Obsessed.
Obsessed with his mom. Yeah. And he was also upset that later he was, acting what Claudius thought was a little up. He was actually found out that he was being spied on.
Whoa.
Using people people that used to be his friends, like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
That must be terrible.
I know.
Like that. I feel like that could be related to like today when like parents like have like Life 360 and have screen time on like their kids' phones.
Mm-hmm.
Because does that feel like there's someone overarching just like watching over you, trying to like get? Because there's nothing. They're not accusing you of anything. Like they don't think you. I mean, a lot of times they don't think you've done anything wrong. They're just trying to find something wrong. Like they're grasping for information. I feel like that's a lot like how Rosencrantz and Guildenstern were going after Hamlet because they were sent by Claudius, but Claudius didn't. He thought Hamlet might be doing something wrong, but he didn't know that Hamlet had done anything. He didn't he was just suspicious,
I mean, I think you can look about it in the other angle too. It's like in Life 360, while I do feel a little bit more comfortable knowing my parents always have my location. And when I have my friend's location, I can see when they haven't left their house yet, even though they're already 20 minutes late. So, I think it's nice, and especially because, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, I don't think Claudius was, they weren't particularly trying or explicitly trying to get dirt on Hamlet, but instead providing someone to check up on him and make sure he wasn't actually going insane, like they assumed they were going insane.
Yeah. And to add on to that, I feel like the other thing with Life 360 is like you said, your parents know where you are, but you also know where your parents are. To be fair, it goes both ways.
Especially because, I think to connect it to less of Life 360 and more like these parental softwares that are on kids' devices without them knowing. Like Net Nanny. Claudius was trying to spy. Claudius was trying to spy on Hamlet without him knowing, hiding behind the curtains, sending Rosencrantz and Guildenstern as and then covering it up and saying that they're just there for funsies on their little tiny train. And I think, Claudius using all these secret ways to spy on Hamlet is can be related to these parental softwares that kids don't know about, and that they're being watched without their knowledge and probably without their consent. Just like Hamlet didn't consent to being peeked on by Claudius.
Yes, spying, pretty bad, and he probably felt pretty bad about being spied on, right? And among other things, right? He felt pretty bad in general, too. And you know what he could have used to help fix that? Someone to talk to? He could have used BetterHelp.
Now for a message from our sponsors, BetterHelp. Even princes struggle with mental health, and it is nothing to be ashamed of. If you are looking for accessible therapy, look to BetterHelp. BetterHelp automatically matches you with a therapist using a personalized algorithm, and you can change therapists at any time without any fees.
BetterHelp is an online platform, so you can get professional help at your fingertips. Sessions can be held over video or over call, so you don't have to show your crown.
Whether you're feeling lonely, misunderstood, or upset because your uncle murdered your father and married your mother, don't be afraid to ask for help. These feelings happen to the best of us, and your mental health is important.
Use code HOTHAMLET25 on BetterHelp.com for 25% off your first month. That's HOTHAMLET25 at BetterHelp.com. Thank you to BetterHelp for supporting In the Hot Tub with Hamlet. One thing that BetterHelp has helped me with is being content with my life. And that makes me wonder, was Hamlet content when he died?
Yeah, because it kind of all happened at once. Hamlet was put in a position where he was he knew he was going to get killed. I mean, he was set up in the duel. They attempted to poison him. The drink that he was offered at the end, he refused, but it was also poisoned. That was the drink that ended up killing his mom, too.
Dang.
So, that,
It's gotta be tough, like saying something you refuse be used to kill your own mother.
Yeah. And also, because Hamlet didn't drink the drink, could that have
killed his own mother?
Yeah, do you think he felt bad because when he refused the drink, it ended up going to his mom? His mom drank it instead, and that killed her.
Because he was gonna die anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. How would he have felt if something that was meant for him actually killed someone else?
Someone else he loved so dearly.
Here's what I think. So, Claudius puts the little pearl in the cup and offers it to Hamlet. He refuses. And then Gertrude drinks it. And after Gertrude has sipped it, Hamlet doesn't know yet. He's still playing. So, Gertrude has already drank it. Hamlet is still dueling with Laertes. And Hamlet nicks Laertes. So then, when Laertes says, "Why, as a woodcock to mine own springe, Osric I am justly killed." So Laertes knows he's dying, and Hamlet says, how does the queen? And then Claudius tries to cover it up, saying she swoons to see them bleed, and then the queen says, "No, the drink, I am poisoned," dies. And Hamlet says, "Oh, villainy, ho, let the door be locked, treachery, seek it out." And when Laertes confesses that the treasonous is in that very room, that the treasonous is Claudius who poisoned the drink and who poisoned the lance, which nicked Hamlet, and Laertes confesses that Hamlet is going to die, that no poison can see him. Hamlet says, "The point, and venom too, then venom to thy work," stabs the king, implying that on his deathbed, the only thing left that he wants to do is get revenge and kill the king. So since he did justly serve the king by killing him, do you think he was content that his last dying wish was finally...
I bet that he wasn't happy that so many people that died, but I also think that earlier in the text he says explicitly that my thoughts be bloody or be nothing else. And I feel like at that point Hamlet, a switch clicked in Hamlet's head, and he was just like, once Claudius is dead, I'm done. My life is complete. I don't have to worry about anything else at that point. Mm-hmm. Everyone else is safe, you could say.
So you're saying that since he did end up killing Claudius, he was content and he was satisfied?
I think so. I think at that point, yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Or if you could look at the other way, if he had never been Catholic, he might have done it sooner. Because one of the reasons he didn't already do it was because he thought he would go to hell if he did kill him, unjustly.
Yeah, well, he didn't. He also, when Hamlet caught Claudius confessing, he didn't want to kill him because he didn't want Claudius to go to heaven. He wanted to make sure Claudius ended up in hell.
And so neither did he want to go to hell.
He did. Well, yeah, he also didn't want to go to hell either. But he didn't want to. His main thing was he didn't want Claudius to rest in peace. Mm-hmm. He wanted to make sure that Claudius, and that is why he killed. And that is why he killed Polonius on accident, because he thought it was Claudius, and because spying is a sin. He knew that if he killed them then, that Claudius would have gone to hell because he was committing a sin. And he hadn't confessed his sins yet. Because they were Catholic.
How would the plot be affected if Hamlet wasn't Catholic?
I mean, well, like, what else? Would he be, like, just not Catholic? Or...
Well, he would have killed him when he had the chance. He had the sword in the confession booth. Hamlet was completely capable of killing Claudius at that moment in time. Like, Claudius could have been dead. Hamlet could have been significantly shorter if there wasn't influence from the religion.
And this reminds me, earlier on in the play, like very early, whenever he learns about his dad as a ghost, right? He thinks, it could be a demon because of his Catholic theology. He thinks that ghosts could be just demons, just Satan trying to trick you into going to hell. Right?
But even so, like, if you weren't Catholic and all of a sudden you see your dead father saying that he is in purgatory, do you think that would spur you to have faith? Because here's your own father verifying Catholicism by saying that, he's in purgatory, he's a ghost, he can't go to heaven until he purges his sins. Do you think even if Hamlet wasn't Catholic, he would have turned Catholic anyways because he had such a momentous event happen to him?
I mean, we kind of match up because...
If he would have thought that he was just going crazy and he was just seeing things, then Hamlet might not even have known that Claudius killed old Hamlet. Mm-hmm. Like, that could have changed it in a even more different way, because he wouldn't have known. He would have just been left with that thought of, like, how did my dad die? Because didn't they originally think it was natural?
I mean, they had no way of knowing that poison in the ear, was actually intentional and not, like, because it was like a heart attack, right? That they thought was natural, but,
it caused a natural death.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving on. Do you think that Gertrude would have still married Claudius if she could have held the power by herself? Or do you think she felt obligated to marry him because of the position she was in? Because she seemed happy, didn't she?
It is, yeah. Gertrude being so happy when she's with Claudius implies that she did love him and that it wasn't only for the crown.
I feel like, she would have probably found someone that wasn't, at all related to her or someone she had married into the past, right? Because there's a lot of those people, even in Denmark, maybe. I don't know how much royal blood they have there, but...
If, Claudius murdered Hamlet and, like, he knowing that Gertrude would come to him, and Gertrude being so happy with him, like, maybe she would have married Claudius even without wanting the crown. If she really did love him, since she was so happy even after her husband died, since Claudius kind of maybe knew that she would go to him, that implies that she would have married Claudius even if it wasn't about the power. I think the water's getting a little bit chilly now in this hot tub with Hamlet, so perhaps we should take this time to dry off. But before we do that, a message from our sponsors.
Facebook.
Have you ever felt royally left out? Fret not. Facebook Messenger can reconnect you with those you depend on most. From anywhere in the world, from Elsinore to London to Oslo, you can talk to your beloved monarchs at the touch of a screen.
Mm-hmm.
No longer must you toil over feather and ink to send a message. Someone threatening your country? Don't waste your time sending a correspondence overseas. Just slide into their uncle's DMs and the threat will be banished lickety-split.
Mm-hmm.
Download Facebook Messenger free on the Apple App Store or Google Play Store today.
Mm-hmm. That wraps up In the Hot Tub with Hamlet. Thank you, listeners, for supporting In the Hot Tub with Hamlet. If you want to support us more, give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen to your podcasts. I'm Mallory.
I'm Rhett,
And I'm Sean.
and this is
In the Hot Tub with Hamlet. Our podcast be bloody or be nothing worth.